say that I'm a big fan of Inside Out. It's mostly thanks to me taking AP Psych in high school around the time it came out, but I was attached to this movie. Like, the second trailer is so ingrained in me that whenever I rewatch the movie and Joy says,
"You can't focus on what's going wrong. There's always a way to turn things around,"
I would immediately start singing, "Hold on a Feeling." Safe to say, Inside Out is one of my top 10 Pixar movies. And it's a no-brainer that I got super excited for Inside Out 2. I bought a popcorn bucket that looked like a core memory, and it lights up, so that's fun. Plus, it came with an ennui cup topper. I really wanted Envy at the time, but now I really enjoy ennui standing on my desk while I do the usual late-night editing session. What I'm trying to say is that I was ready to love this movie.
2 hours later.
I feel conflicted. Inside Out 2 needs no introduction at this point. It broke multiple box office records, most notably the highest grossing animated film of all time and highest grossing movie of 2024 as of October. Say what you want about the movie, I'm just really glad that it beat The Lion King 2019 at the box office for highest grossing animated movie. So thanks, Inside Out 2. Despite my conflicting feelings about it, Inside Out 2 is not a bad movie, and it's not mid either. It's pretty good, actually. But I left the movie feeling empty in many ways, and I want to figure out why. Leave the granola bars for some pizza because we're taking a look at Inside Out 2. Carrie, those are gummy sharks. Huh? This video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Surfshark is an app and browser extension that can virtually change your IP address to anywhere in the world. If you're like me, chances are you like watching animation and beautiful anime men. Listen, I got sick when the new Haikyuu movie came out in theaters, so I missed the chance to see my man Kudo on the big screen. But now that the movie is on Netflix, I can finally watch him in the comfort of my home. Except I live in America and somebody decided to region lock it. But thanks to Surfshark, I can virtually place myself in Taiwan and there it is. I can finally relive my pandemic hyperfixation and cry over my beautiful volleyball boys. But it's not just for unlocking content. Surfshark VPN also encrypts your online info from hackers, malware, and other weirdos on the internet, keeping your passwords and data safe. Plus, one account gets you access to their 3,200 plus servers in 100 countries on unlimited devices. So that means you don't have to pick and choose which of your devices get protected. Don't worry, Warren, Graham, and Mark. You're all safe with me. Yeah, I named my devices. They're my babies. Oh, and they have a 30-day money-back guarantee policy, so the only thing you need to worry about is what to watch first. Might I suggest joining me in watching Haikyuu the Dumpster Battle? Anyways, go to surfshark.com/tootired or click on the link below for 4 extra months of Surfshark. Hurry, that's surfshark.com/tootired. I gotta change out of my costume before the movie starts, but thank you Surfshark for sponsoring this video.
Triple then come. We'll make you smile.
Before we start the movie, I just want to point out this cute version of the Disney Castle logo as all the fireworks and sparkles contain the different memory orb colors. I think it's really pretty and reminds me of the older DreamWorks and Disney logos where they do fun little variants to match the movie. Anyways, our movie jumps right into the action as Joy, voiced by Amy Poehler, leads Riley into her last middle school hockey game. We get a quick reintroduction to joy, anger, fear, disgust, and sadness as they pilot the console, and Joy catches us up on Riley's life during some downtime in the penalty box. So, it's been 2 years since the big San Francisco move, and Riley is now 13. On the outside, she got braces, had a growth spurt, and made new friends at her school, Bree and Grace. On the inside, her friendship island tripled its size, her memories started creating beliefs, and and she now has a sense of self, which overrides the emotions controls.
I'm a good person.
Wow, I wish I have the self-confidence of a 13-year-old white girl. While I don't really like how younger Riley looks in this, seriously, I think they ooh-ooh-fied her a lot compared to the first one. I really enjoyed the intro here because of how energetic it feels. I like how they don't spend too much time on reintroducing the emotions and how they work. Plus, the rock rendition of the original soundtrack shows us the more exciting nature of being a teenager than when you're a toddler or kid. And this is the only good thing I'll say about the soundtrack, unfortunately. I also like how the sense of self gives Riley more agency in this story. In the first movie, Riley doesn't really get the spotlight. We know how she feels and what she wants, but it was never really through her as a character. Instead, she feels more like a vessel for the plot to move forward.
Okay, what abstract concept are we trying to comprehend today?
Loneliness.
No time. Hey, would you look at
But here, we get to see Riley make her own decisions.
But Grace hasn't scored yet.
A few moments later.
After winning the championship, high school hockey coach, Coach Roberts, approaches Riley, Bree, and Grace to invite them all to her upcoming hockey camp, which they happily accept. Later that night, we see the family get excited about the opportunity, but Riley remembers her penalty from earlier and worries that she'll mess up at camp. This is when Joy brings in her latest invention, the super high-tech Riley protection system, or as I like to call it, the Sharps. It's basically an out-of-sight, out-of-mind thing, where the emotions pick out any memory that can lead to some form of worry and throws it to the back of Riley's mind, keeping her stress-free.
A one-way expressway to, we're not gonna think about that right now. Woo!
Joy handpicks a favorite memory of hers, and after sending the rest to long-term memory, she invites Sadness to the belief system,
Where I go, you go.
where they see the memory reinforces Riley's sense of self. And I really like how we see Joyce's character growth from the last movie. Here, she genuinely appreciates the other emotions, letting them control the console when needed to after seeing how detrimental it is to hold back emotions.
It's okay. We need this.
Joy cannot exist without Sadness, and she knows that now. We even see that in the belief system because not every orb is yellow. But we also get to see that she's not perfect, as her need to maintain Riley's overall happiness leads her to cherry-picking memories to feed into her sense of self. Back to the movie, we see the emotions wake up in the middle of the night to find the mysterious puberty alarm beeping and eventually going off. This summons our big trailer moment when mind workers started blowing up headquarters and tearing things apart for the new expansion.
You know, for the others.
What others?
They're not here yet?
I just want to point out the little Bing Bong figure by Joyce's bed real quick because it's so precious. And I love the emotions of sleepwear. They fit their characters really well. One day I'll be able to afford cute PJs. Then I'll be unstoppable. Oh, and it's lunch break, which means Riley is up. On the outside, puberty hits like a truck as Riley wakes up with her hormones super imbalanced.
Overreact much?
She smells worse and gets snappier with Mom. On the inside, the emotions find that the console gets really sensitive as all of Riley's emotions feel and act bigger than before. But none of that matters because it's day one of hockey camp and everyone's excited.
Big weekend for us. What do you want to do?
Well, we could finally clean out the garage, or...
That is until Disgust picks up on Bree's subtle change in expression and Grace spills the tea. Literally, I guess, about them not going to the same high school this fall.
Friends are forever, right? Yeah, of course.
I guess it's funny that even in a Pixar movie, the Asian girl has fear at the center of the console. Would mine be fear? I guess high school Carrie would, cause I had a lot of anxiety back then, but now I'm not so sure. I took the BuzzFeed quiz that the cast took, and I got joy? I don't know if it's accurate, but one of the questions asked what new emotion they should add in the third movie, and it's this really ugly AI mess with one of them being Riz. Ew!
That's short for charisma. The kids say it. Thank
Is
you.
that right?
Yeah.
Wow,
Sympathy.
I feel like a stroke victim.
So, I take this with a grain of salt. Okay, side tangent aside, if Disgust hadn't picked up on Bree's expressions, when were they gonna tell her about the different high schools? The last day of summer? After camp? Cause they don't seem to be as distraught as Riley is about it. I don't know, it's giving separate group chat vibes, and that's messed up, man. I mean, they didn't even wait for Riley when they got out of the car, like, hello, you just dropped a bombshell on your best friend? After giving Riley a good cry, Joy proposes a group to focus on hockey for the rest of camp. And this is when Riley bumps into the Val Ortiz, captain of the high school hockey team, the Firehawks. While the emotions try to figure out how to approach Val, Riley suddenly starts doing some cringe-inducing moves. And it's here we get to meet the new emotions: envy, ennui, embarrassment, nostalgia, and anxiety. Voiced by Maya Hawke.
A new emotion!
And can I just say that the best part about this movie is hands down the emotions? I love how this movie is filled with character moments for these little guys. I like the fact that anxiety is a people pleaser at heart, such as using French for ennui.
Why are we up so early?
Because, mon ami, we need to speed things up.
And giving envy the spotlight when needed. Even in her introduction, we already see her trying to appeal to Joy, who's the head of the console. I like the fact that anger and joy have this opposites attract dynamic going on, and it's really cute seeing him support Joy in his own ways, such as inserting himself into her plan.
No, anger!
Okay, fine, no punting.
And yeah, these moments don't really have anything to do with the overall story, but they make the experience a lot more engaging. Like, you want to revisit these characters in the future. On the other hand, the worst part about this movie is hands down the soundtrack. Now, I'm not the most musical person out there, so excuse me if this small section is coming across as me going,
The one that goes bee boo boo bop boo boo beep.
The original Inside Out soundtrack by Michael Giacchino is playful. It features beautiful melodies that are unforgettable and complements every scene perfectly. But more importantly, it conveys the complexities of our emotions. Joy's theme feels sparkly, but when the emotions evolve, they use pauses to give it the heaviness that is associated with sadness, making the scene really bittersweet. The Inside Out 2 soundtrack by Andrea Dasman has two emotions to me: teen and anxiety. But Carrie, teen isn't an emotion. Yeah, that's my point. The soundtrack does this thing where you're either hearing electric guitar that screams, teenagers, sports, or you're listening to a chaotic orchestra that screams, panic, with an occasional sad section, because this movie loves spoon-feeding you how to feel. I was trying to figure out why I hate this soundtrack to the point of wanting to watch the movie without it, and listening to the soundtrack on its own while doing research made it a miserable experience. There are ways to have your music portray anxiety without triggering your audience's panic attack like a sleeper agent. Listen to Bocchi the Rock's soundtrack and tell me I'm right. Back to the movie. Riley's hockey camp experience kicks off to a rough start. She's stuck with a false nickname and even got the whole team doing extra training when she continued to goof off with Bree and Grace. After overhearing some comments from the older girls, we see Joy hesitantly give anxiety control over the situation. This leads anxiety to go full notice me senpai mode, which is hard to watch, but does its job as Val invites Riley to join her team for the rest of camp.
All right, welcome to our team, Michigan.
Insisting that Riley needs a good relationship with the Firehawks, specifically Val, to avoid social isolation in high school,
It's a better Riley. A Riley who won't be alone next year.
anxiety throws Riley's sense of self to the back of her mind and bottles up the OG emotions for her personal collection.
Show it.
It's
Show
right,
it.
it's right here.
Show it.
It's right here.
Show it.
It's right there.
Triple then come.
We'll make you smile.
We find Riley practicing super early the next morning for some extra ice time.
Every time we miss, we skate a lap around the rink. Hockey is not a game, it is a sport.
And it seems that Anxiety's plan for a new Riley is already working in Riley's favor because Val invites her to a get-together she's hosting. Meanwhile, the OG emotions are taken to the vault, where everything Riley suppresses ends up.
Who are you talking to?
My friends. Do you see a key?
Okay, Bluefy and Pouchy I kinda get because she's entering her I don't like this because I'm old now teenage thinking phase. I'm sorry for saying I didn't like you in front of my older cousin Phineas and Ferb. My anxiety got to me. But Lance slash Blade?
ムカムカの賢者よ。君に信じてもらえたから、俺も自分を信じてみようと思う。
You're telling me Walmart Cloud Final Fantasy would not be free roaming in her mind 24/7? I get if the dark secret is self-shipping fan art, but the whole character? Like, come on, she's 13. He definitely wouldn't be trapped in the vault. When I was 13, I had Flynn Rider and Kovu free roaming in my brain all day. And he's literally on the Mount Crushmore, so what do you mean he's suppressed? Anyways, thanks to some 2D dynamite and a cool finishing move from Lance slash Blade, the gang escapes the vault and makes up a plan to stop Anxiety from taking over Riley. After sending Sadness back to headquarters, the rest of the gang boards the stream of consciousness. So, much like the first movie, one half of Inside Out 2 is a coming-of-age movie, and the other half is a road trip movie. But unlike its predecessor, Inside Out 2 doesn't really deliver on either of those stories. I'm not saying they fumbled, but they are pretty weak. Hear me out. Riley's story is simple on the surface. It's her last summer of being in middle school and she's becoming a teenager. She learned last minute that not only are her two best friends going to high school without her, but also choosing not to tell her about it until further notice. Overwhelmed by the possibility of facing high school alone, Riley puts all her effort into making the Firehawks and blending in with the quote-unquote cooler high school senpais.
This has been really fun.
Extremely, but we're gonna go now. Okay, bye!
Instead of cherishing her last hockey camp with Bree and Grace. Coming-of-age movies are never really about the plot, in the way that we already know where the story is going. Kinda like a rom-com. We know how the story ends, so we need to focus on our characters, their relationships, and their changes for the audience to enjoy watching them get together. Basically, journey over the destination. In this case, Riley finishes hockey camp and goes to high school in the fall. So what's the journey? Well, we see throughout the movie that Riley really cares about the older girls' opinions. She gets upset after hearing them trash talk behind her back, grows conscious towards herself including how she walks, and lies to fit in. 'Cause she's a teenager, and the only people teenagers think are cool are the popular older teenagers. But here's the thing, that's it.
That can't be it. Where's the rest of it?
Riley's story is very much only about her wanting to be good enough for the Firehawks so she won't be alone in high school. And while the need to fit in is universal, it also comes out hollow when that's all there is to it. Maybe they could have focused on Riley outgrowing her friends, taking their shared hobby more seriously while they don't, or even just showing Riley's friendship getting tested during camp. For example, at the get-together, when Riley gets sarcastic over Get Up and Glow, Bree and Grace don't react much. I mean, obviously, they weren't really vibing with the new Riley, but they just leave. The scene ends and we're immediately jumping into the next one. There's a deleted scene called Shame Spiral, where we see the teenagers play Never Have I Ever at a get-together. It's obvious that by this point in the movie, Riley's relationship with her best friends are tense. And while Bree vaguely pokes at Riley's past with
Played hooky from school?
Grace directly calls out Riley with
Stolen my mom's credit card.
We then see Riley and Grace go back and forth until Grace goes too far and Riley goes a step further.
Never have I ever wet the bed as a teenager.
Oh my gosh.
That was a secret, Riley!
How could you do that?
No, Val,
While the scene was deleted to focus on anxiety as an emotion, I wish the outside parts made it to the final film. Teenagers can be cruel, they can get petty. It's mean, but at the end of the day, they're still growing, and mistakes are part of growing up. Inside Out 2 does have its moments, but a lot of times scenes like this feel limited. Moments don't feel lived in. In Inside Out, joy and sadness go on a road trip across the mind as they make their way back to headquarters. They stumble across some colorful characters and even more colorful locations. In Inside Out 2, joy, disgust, fear, and anger go on a road trip across the mind as they make their way back. You see where I'm going with this? However, the big difference between the two movies is that Inside Out uses every opportunity they have to develop their characters, while Inside Out 2 simply indulges in their moments. Scenes go like this. Joy and the others are on the stream of consciousness, but uh-oh, the sarcasm appeared.
Sarcasm? Really?
So they have to go a different way. They find their way to Imagination Land, but uh-oh. Anxiety's Mappa/Pixar/any major studio that exploits their workers-inspired animation sweatshop prevents Riley from sleeping, so they have to get the mind workers to rebel.
Yeah, I see you, 87. A cat!
They find a parade balloon to fly across the mind, but uh-oh, there's a brainstorm, so they have to do something again to reach Shell City. And don't get me wrong, it's entertaining enough, but there's not a lot of substance going on. Scenes like the sarcasm and the brainstorm just feel like they're there to pad out runtime. Our characters don't learn anything here. One of my favorite scenes from Inside Out is at Dream Productions, where joy and sadness try to wake Riley up to get the train of thought running again.
Yeah, I'm used to that one.
Let me guess, we have no pants on.
Hey, look, she came to school with no pants on.
Called it!
By this point of the movie, Joy learned to trust more in others, but still insists that joy is the key emotion to everything. But after failing to wake Riley up her way, she learns that every emotion has their purpose, though still unsure what sadness is. The scene had a lot of fun moments, such as the bad actor and the realistic dog splitting in half, but it also moved the story and characters forward without rushing. Inside Out 2 didn't really do that here. Sure, we get some cool character moments here and there, such as Tony Hale fears' one good line, in my opinion at least.
Joy, the only way out is up!
Anger drawing flowers.
We buy flowers for the losing team!
Or even Anxiety's unhinged aura.
Sending all of this positive joy. I know you're in there.
But I don't see a lot of growth here, and that's what made the first one so special to me. Anyways, enough of me talking. What did I miss?
Okay, we are cooked.
Yep, we are absolutely cooked, chat. GG.
Triple then come.
We'll make you smile.
Under anxiety's influence, Riley sneaks into the coach's office and learns that she isn't considered ready for the Firehawks. After an all-nighter brainstorming session,
That's a big idea!
Anxiety plans for Riley to go all in on the hockey camp's final match. She dyes her hair to match her senpai's and continues to not think about her friends leaving.
It's giving jealousy. I'm sorry.
He wouldn't know cool if it hit them in the face.
Earlier in the movie, Riley learns that Val scored a record of 2 points at her freshman scrimmage, earning her a spot on the Firehawks. So obviously, the only way to guarantee Riley a spot now is to score
3! I was just about to say that. We were about to say that at the same time.
And on that final note, Riley's new sense of self is complete.
Here we go! I'm not good enough. What?
I mean, I know anxiety means well, prepping Riley for the future and all, but overwhelming all her new beliefs with anxiety instead of a nice blend of emotions is a recipe for disaster. I'm of course speaking from experience as someone who had a lot of panic attacks in high school, specifically junior year. Meanwhile, the gang finally arrived at the back of Riley's mind, only to find Riley's sense of self dwindling fast. Worried about Riley's well-being, embarrassment helps sadness summon the gang using sharps. But anxiety panics and destroys the device, leaving the gang stranded.
Maybe this is what happens when you grow up. You feel less joy.
Thankfully, anger summons Pouchy, who is only able to offer more 2D dynamite.
I offered you the rubber ducky. I offered you the...
I mean, I like the way he thinks, I'll give him that. And Joy chooses to blow up the Bad Memories cliff to create an avalanche as a last resort to reach headquarters. On the outside, the final scrimmage starts and Anxiety is confident-ish that everything will be fine as long as Riley scores her goals.
Have a good game, Riley.
You have to score, Riley!
You too.
We see her desperation quickly build up as she becomes less of a team player, going as far as stealing from her own teammates.
Michigan, what are you doing? Well, Danny might be a little mad at us, but they'll all forgive us when we make the team.
And everything culminates as Riley gets sent to the penalty box for body slamming Grace. All the bad memories overflow Riley's belief system, and Anxiety frantically attempts to fix her mistakes, creating a panic attack.
Anxiety, you're putting too much pressure on her!
When the gang finally returns to headquarters, everyone comes together to remove the new sense of self. We see Joy rush into the Eye of Anxiety's storm to stop her, only to find her frozen in place, seeking control. And I really like the way the storm is handled, from the way it's created from Anxiety's super speed, to her frozen solid in the center as every other part of the console moves, creating no effect on Riley. They really hone in on this disorienting sense of tunnel vision. Time is warped between you and your surroundings. You seek control, but nothing's working. And that helplessness you feel as you're seeing everything and nothing at once. It's overwhelming, and all you can do is be in this moment.
Anxiety? You need to let her go.
When the old sense of self isn't working for Riley either, Joy realizes that she doesn't need to hide the bad memories for Riley, but to be there for her and embrace her for who she is. So she removes it, and all the emotions support Riley as a new, more complex version of her sense of self comes to fruition. After grounding herself, Riley apologizes to Bree and Grace for the way she treated them throughout camp, and the three reconcile. The girls then invite her to finish the game together, and we see Riley mature as she actively seeks for joy, taking control over her emotions.
Joy.
Riley wants you.
And here's the thing. I really like how they handled Riley's agency here. It's similar to the beginning of the movie where she's taking control of her actions, but this time she's also choosing her outlook on her situation, instead of going along with whatever emotion she's feeling at the moment. But I don't like how the aftermath of the panic attack is handled. Let me explain. During the memory dump scene in Inside Out, Joy learns that sadness is an essential emotion because it lets others know that Riley needs comfort and help. So when they return to headquarters, Joy hands over the core memories to Sadness. We then see Riley in tears telling her parents that she misses Minnesota. And we also see her parents tearfully admitting that they're sad about the move as well. This becomes a new core memory for Riley. Her bonds with her parents are now stronger than before, all thanks to Joy and Sadness working together. Inside Out's climax shows us the importance and normalization of sadness. It's essential for our mental health, and it happens to everyone. Now let's take a look at Inside Out 2 again. Throughout the movie, we see Riley put great importance on her peers. I mean, Family Island got ratioed hard.
What are they laughing about? Does anybody know what cool people laugh about?
I don't know, we were too focused on the arms thing.
But we also see that the teens aren't as cool or put together as Riley thinks. Grace has fear as her main driver, Danny isn't as mature as she thinks she is, and even the Firehawk girls show guiltiness over Riley losing sleep on the final day of camp.
Danny, you stuck straws up your nose like last night.
Get up and glow! I was all over them in middle school.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I was a glow girlie. Relax.
Technically, it's not your tryout for the next year, but it basically is.
Did you, sleep last night?
No! How could I? Big game today. You mean the camp scrimmage?
See, I told you not to freak her out.
So what happens after Riley gets a panic attack? She apologizes to Bree and Grace, explains that she's anxious about making friends in high school, and asks for forgiveness. Which, you know, is great because she's admitting and trying to atone for her past behavior, but that's it.
But what else?
What else? What else is there?
Like, she's not having a panic attack post-game. It's happening out in the open during the game. I mean, surely people would notice. And no one grabbed the coach? Does Riley even know what just happened to her? I think on the surface, Inside Out 2 achieved what Inside Out did. It showed the audience the importance of anxiety and how overwhelming it can be. Yes, anxiety can be good for you because it helps you strive for a better future, and too much anxiety can be debilitating. But I don't think this movie has anything to say about anxiety. That is, how normal it is to have it, especially for teens, and how to deal with it. In the late 2010s, a Disney Channel show called Andy Mack featured a main character named Jonah who deals with anxiety and the occasional panic attack. Now, for a show aimed at kids and preteens, Andy Mack handles the subject very well. It never talks down to its audience or characters, explicitly addresses what panic attacks are, and provides support.
Panic attacks can be very scary, but the symptoms are temporary. Remember that if it happens again.
It's going to happen again?
It might. I treat kids younger than you who have them every day.
Why didn't you tell us?
It's embarrassing.
It's just a physical reaction to stress. That shouldn't be embarrassing.
I just wish for once someone would say something positive. Even just, they'll get easier.
They come and go. That's what you have to remember. They go. When you're having one, you just have to keep telling yourself this will end.
But the one scene from the show that stuck out to me is when he tells TJ about them.
Yeah, what was going on then? Panic attack. I get those now.
Everyone's got something they got to deal with.
Despite them not becoming close friends afterwards, this moment ended the conflict between TJ and Jonah, thanks to the bond over their respective struggles. It's a very Fox and the Hound situation where the characters don't become close afterwards, but shared a moment where their humanity comes before any previous animosity. Now, I'm not saying Inside Out 2 needs to address this like the show. I understand that doing so could ruin the film's momentum and make the movie come off more PSA than blockbuster, but I really wanted the film to have a scene where all the girls, even the ones that don't get along with Riley, tell her that it's okay to panic and that she's not alone, because at the end of the day, everyone is dealing with something. I really hate how the scene we got breezes through this. Bree and Grace don't apologize for hiding the secret from Riley, and the other Firehawks didn't show any concern when they indirectly caused a teammate to spiral. The whole scene lacked comfort to me. It feels more like a parent telling their kid it'll get better, rather than a teenager saying it's okay to feel this way. And everything unfortunately comes across as hollow. Yes, things will get better, but when your main character is a teenager currently living through hardship, simply saying it'll get better might not be a strong enough message. It's hard to take it'll get better to heart when it constantly doesn't feel like it. People need connections, mutual understanding, and acceptance. It's why Inside Out's confession scene is so much more emotionally effective, and why immediately jumping to Riley's new emotional maturity with no time for us to process what happened rubs me the wrong way. Anyways, fast forward to high school and we see Riley thriving in her new environment. She has a new nickname, gets along with Val and the Firehawks, and keeps in touch with Bree and Grace. Meanwhile, the emotions are living together in harmony and are dealing with anxiety in a healthy manner.
We can't control whether Riley makes the team, but what can we control?
Oh, Riley has a Spanish test tomorrow. We need to study.
Oh,
we're never told if Riley made it as a Firehawk.
Confetti if we make the team.
Good idea.
Confetti if we don't.
But we see that she'll be okay no matter the outcome.
Hey, look, if you don't make it this year, there's always next year.
I know.
And that's Inside Out 2. Yeah, I wished I liked it more.
Triple then come.
We'll make you smile.
Inside Out 2 is a crowd pleaser in every sense of the word. It's visually pleasing, funny, and has some really emotional scenes to tie it all together. The movie is filled with characters that are made for you to pick and choose who to attach to, and you'll probably leave the film feeling good. But the soulless soundtrack and the lack of substance in many aspects of the film really brought it down for me. Don't get me wrong, I like this movie, but it doesn't grab me as much as the first one, or even any of the newer Pixar films we've been getting recently. There is no Lightyear in Ba Sing Se. One of the lines Joy said that really drives home my feelings for this movie is,
maybe this is what happens when you grow up. You feel less joy.
Because I really don't think that's the case. It's not that you feel less joy when you grow up, it's that joy is harder to earn. When you grow up, you learn that life is more complicated than you thought. Things get naturally harder when there are more things to worry about and deal with, and it's easier to feel lonely, sad, and angry than happy. Like, yeah, I also wish I bought a house in 2008 instead of watching SpongeBob and playing with Lego. Hindsight is 2020. And as much as I like Inside Out 2, I can't bring myself to celebrate this movie's success because every new thing I'm learning from behind the scenes tells me to feel otherwise. Financially, Pixar had layoffs affecting 175 workers, which means 14% of its staff were unable to benefit from a bonus for Inside Out 2's success because it only applied to active employees. Meanwhile, Mindy Kaling and Bill Hader didn't return to voice disgust and fear, respectively, because they were offered just 2% the salary of Amy Poehler. Creatively, Pixar is less open to taking risks after Lightyear's financial failure, and the studio's over-reliance on their chief creative officer, Pete Docter, created a bottlenecked system. And that's not even going into the unhealthy crunch time that had artists practically working 24/7, or Disney leadership's constant need to avoid queerness on screen. In the IGN article, multiple people recall hearing about continuous notes to make Riley come across as less gay, leading to numerous edits, and going as far as requiring edits to the lighting and tone of certain scenes to remove any trace of romantic chemistry. One source describes it as just doing a lot of extra work to make sure that no one would potentially see them as not straight. And with another sequel to a popular movie releasing this year, I fear that Disney will take away the wrong lessons here and not only give less chances for creators to shine and tell their own stories, but also continuously mistreat their artists. Inside Out 2 is a 7 out of 10. As you grow older, happiness becomes something you need to actively seek out for. It's something you need to make time for, to put effort in. And it's hard to be happy in today's world when it feels like everything is going against you. But I want to leave this video on a happier note, because chances are, watching my videos is a small way for you to seek happiness after a hard day, or to have some fun company while you work. So let me recommend some coming-of-age movies for you to watch after Inside Out 2. Didi is a coming-of-age dramedy about Chris, a 13-year-old Taiwanese immigrant growing up in the late 2000s. On top of its nice Y2K social media aesthetic, the movie definitely brings out the bite between teenagers that I was looking for in Inside Out 2. Not to mention, it made me cry for a good 30 minutes, so please go watch it. If you're craving animation, Look Back is a coming-of-age drama about two young girls, Fujino and Kyomoto, forming a rivalry friendship through their shared passions towards manga. It's on the shorter side, but this movie features some stellar animation, and the story's emotional beats really gets you invested in these characters and their relationships. It's also very honest when it comes to the struggles and tolls of creating art that any person can relate to, whether you create as a hobby or profession. It also made me cry, so please have tissues ready. If you want some more Pixar fun, Turning Red is a coming-of-age comedy fantasy about Mei-Lin Lee, who is trying to save up money for an upcoming boy band concert while dealing with her family's curse. It's one of Pixar's funniest films, and I love its honest portrayal of teenagers, especially the struggle of embracing your true self while dealing with familial expectations and pressures. I would like to say this movie is the only one out of these three that did not make me cry, but that would be a lie. I bawled my eyes out the first time watching this, and I still cry on rewatches, so this one's the worst offender actually. Anyways, that's it from me. Thank you so much for supporting me through 2024, happy holidays, and I'll see you next year. Bye bye!